You're watching former special counsel Jack Smith testifying before Congress about his investigations into President Trump. Smith charged Trump with undertaking a criminal scheme to overturn the 2020 election and mishandling classified information. The president has denied any wrongdoing, and both cases were ultimately dismissed. Now Republicans are reiterating allegations that his investigations were politically motivated, and Smith is defending those himself against those accusations, saying he brought the charges against the president because he had evidence that he had broken the law. And Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas and ABC News legal contributor James Sample are here for more. Pierre, you heard Republican Chairman Jim Jordan there saying this is all about politics. He's especially focused on this account from Cassidy Hutchinson, which he says was not true. What do you make of the questioning so far?
Well, Diana, I think the thing that strikes me thus far about the hearing is these facts. Number one, that you have for the first time Special Counsel Jack Smith appearing publicly and speaking at length about both cases that he was involved in prosecuting, both the election interference case and the classified documents case. And he is resolute about a couple things. Number one, that he believes that he could prove without a reasonable doubt that President Trump committed crimes. And number two, that if he had to do it over again, he would probably do the same thing. He's been steely in his demeanor, as you put it, as you say. The Republicans, Chairman Jordan in particular, are seeking to dismantle this prosecution and suggest that he was political at every turn. He's rejecting that, and we have to wait and see if his steely demeanor changes at all. But that's the thing that strikes me. This is a consequential and dramatic moment because a man who operated investigating behind the scenes for many, many days and months now is in the public having to justify everything that he did.
And Pierre, you said it there publicly. He has already testified behind closed doors. So why do this publicly now?
Well, I think the Republicans want to have him testify out in the open, and I think the Democrats want the same thing. And we'll have to wait and see how this plays out because both sides seem to think there's political advantage to having Mr. Smith testify. The Republicans apparently believe that they can show him to be partisan in some way, to show that he made mistakes. Democrats expect to show him to be a person who had resolve, who believed that he did the right thing.
And James, Republicans are trying to poke holes in Smith's cases here, pointing to motions that he lost the credibility of certain witnesses or potential witnesses. What do you make of that questioning and how Smith is responding so far?
Well, Diane, there's no question, and as Pierre said, this hearing so far anyway, it's almost like a Rorschach test for America. You're seeing things through two extraordinarily different lenses. I think what the Republicans on the committee are trying to do, and the reason that they want this out in public, is that they are hoping, and they have the benefit of already having a deposition that occurred in private, and they have those transcripts, and they and their legal team have gone over them tooth and nail. The goal for the Republicans on the committee is to serve the president's wishes, which is to get Jack Smith indicted. And the way to get someone indicted in this context is to lure them into what is known as a perjury trap. And if you think about the context of, James Comey, the failed attempt to prosecute James Comey was based on testimony given to Congress. So that's what they're looking for on a legal level, and on a political level, of course, they're trying to score points. And so they are saying, as this emphasis on Cassidy Hutchinson or the emphasis on losing particular motions. Chief Justice John Roberts famously was asked during his confirmation hearing, which was one of the most successful confirmation hearings for any justice or even any political appointee ever, about a particular case that he lost as a litigator 9-0. And the line of questioning was attempting to be kind of a gotcha. Well, how, if you're so great, did you lose 9-0? And he had one of the all-time responses, which is to say something very close to, I'm paraphrasing off of memory here, well, there weren't 10 justices. And the indication, what he's saying is, sometimes you, as a lawyer, bring a case and the facts or the law, or you are on the other side of a case as a defendant. The facts or the law just aren't with you. And so that is perfectly normal, fair. I don't think that that scores any points against Jack Smith. And look, in any case, a defense, if Donald Trump had ever gone to trial in these cases, he would have had defenses like the ability to challenge the admissibility of particular witnesses or evidence. And so I think so far that's what you've seen.
James, on the note about scoring points, do you think Jordan just scored points there by pointing out the questions about Cassidy Hutchinson's account of what happened in the car on January 6th and the way that Smith responded to not having verified that account and whether or not they were going to put her on the stand?
I don't think that he scored points in the sense of against Jack Smith. Had this been an actual case, an actual litigation, that would have been a viable line of attack on that particular line of testimony. And Smith indicated in his December deposition that he himself had some reservations about that being admissible because it was hearsay. But I'm sure you're going to hear through the rest of the testimony the idea that others were available to corroborate all sorts of evidence. And in any case, the net sum, the aggregate of what Smith is arguing is, as Pierre said, that the sum total of the evidence was proof beyond a reasonable doubt, in Smith's view.
James, you have reviewed these cases in detail. Based on the evidence that's been made public, do you agree that Smith had enough here to charge and potentially convict President Trump?
He certainly had enough to charge. There's no question that he had enough to charge, that this was sufficient to get an indictment. Getting a victory at trial is a function of juries. It's a function of many, many factors. Is it possible? Absolutely, yes. Is it an absolute certainty? Very few things in life are, and certainly not in litigation.
Pierre, we've also heard a bit about Smith's subpoenas for lawmakers' phone records. What are Republicans getting at there?
Well, they're trying to prove that he was overly aggressive, that he was not considered at all of First Amendment rights. And his response thus far has been that this was something that ultimately was approved by the Justice Department, that it was limited in scope, that he wasn't getting at the content, but he was simply attempting to figure out who President Trump may have been trying to influence in trying to overturn the election. That is his response thus far.
And James, part of Smith's report on the classified documents case is still under seal. How could that affect what he can and can't say in this hearing?
Oh, it'll have a dramatic effect, Diane, in the sense, and to be clear, it is a remarkable thing. It is under seal due to an order by Judge Eileen Cannon until at least February 24th. We've never had a special counsel report that has been filed under seal. Clearly, when you're talking about, charges brought against a former president, we are in uncharted territory, or we were in uncharted territory. So the circumstances are a little bit unique in that regard. But the fact that he has essentially got a gag order, he cannot speak about the evidence of the classified documents case because of that order. And given Cannon's loyalty to the president on numerous levels and her various rulings, that is a little bit, it's a strange analogy, but it's a little bit like the Epstein files. We don't know what's in that report. And the classified documents case, most legal experts believed all along, was the case that was easiest to prove, the one in which there was the clearest evidence, video evidence after the subpoenas had been served, after the president and his team had said, we've returned all the documents, and then there's video evidence of his assistants moving documents around at Mar-a-Lago. That was always seen as the case that, if it got to trial, had the best evidence to lead to a conviction, and Jack Smith will be prevented from even discussing it today. So absolutely a big, big factor.
Pierre, the Department of Justice is investigating what it calls politicized actions of officials who investigated President Trump. What's at stake for Smith today? Could he face consequences over his investigations depending on how this hearing goes?
Well, the DOJ has stated publicly that they're reviewing every aspect of what Special Counsel Smith did or did not do. So that is pending. We also know there are other investigations looking at how the 2020 election was conducted. So DOJ right now, under Attorney General Pam Bondi, is pursuing, looking at all questions that President Trump has raised about the election. That is just a fact of what is occurring. Right now, again, Special Counsel Smith seems to be very aggressive today in trying to make the case, number one, that he did what he did because of the investigation, what the facts proved in his mind. And also, he's going to great pains to say that he believes that his staff in particular and the FBI have been vilified and unfairly targeted for retribution by President Trump and his supporters.
And Pierre, you say both Republicans and Democrats wanted this moment of Smith testifying publicly. What are they both trying to get out of this?
Well, I think the Republicans want to discredit the investigation, full stop. They believe that it was a political and weaponized Justice Department, and that Special Counsel Smith spearheaded that investigation and prosecution. And Democrats want the public reminded specifically, as much as they can, of what President Trump was accused of. They want the public reminded of what happened on January 6th, and to the degree that they can speak about some of the facts and the evidence in the classified documents case, that's what they intend to do.
All right, Pierre Thomas, James Sample, thank you both.